He shaped pop culture. Through legendary parties, ruled music, fashion, and business. But behind the flashing lights and platinum records was a darker empire being built. Now, as week 3 of Sean Diddy Combs' explosive federal trial closes, chilling allegations of kidnapping, threats, and sex trafficking take center stage. Witnesses say it wasn't just fame he controlled, it was fear. This isn't tabloid drama. This is a courtroom where the stakes are 15 years to life, and the truth may be even darker than the headlines. He shaped pop culture. Through legendary parties, ruled music, fashion, and business. But behind the flashing lights and platinum records was a darker empire being built. Now, as week 3 of Sean Diddy Combs' explosive federal trial closes, chilling allegations of kidnapping, threats, and sex trafficking take center stage. Witnesses say it wasn't just fame he controlled, it was fear. This isn't tabloid drama. This is a courtroom where the stakes are 15 years to life, and the truth may be even darker than the headlines. As the sex trafficking and racketeering case against Sean Diddy Combs nears the end of its 3rd week, prosecutors are trying to show he wasn't just a famous entertainer, but the leader of a violent and secretive network. Shocking witness accounts, from kidnapping to threats, are now center stage. But will that be enough to convince a jury? I'm Kennedy Walker, and you're watching Law and Crime. So far, more than 19 witnesses have spoken in court about Combs' alleged actions. Federal lawyers say he used his business power, in music, fashion, and alcohol to hide years of criminal behavior. Combs has denied all wrongdoing. The case centers on RICO charges. Prosecutors don't have to show he personally committed each crime, only that he was in charge of or benefited from the criminal acts of others in his circle. One of the most damaging witnesses is former staffer Capricorn Clark. She testified that Combs kidnapped her at gunpoint because she didn't tell him Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, was dating rapper Kid Cudi. According to her, Combs said, "Get dressed, we're going to kill this slur." When she said she didn't want to go, he reportedly replied, "I don't care what you want. Get dressed." Clark said he drove her to Cudi's house with a bodyguard and stormed in. When Cudi showed up, a short car chase began before Cudi got away. Later, she claimed Combs threatened her life if Cudi went to the police. "If you don't stop him, I'll kill all of you." She also told the court she was forced to take lie detector tests for 5 days after Combs accused her of stealing. One examiner warned her, "If I can't get a reading, you'll end up in the East River." In another story, Clark said Combs brought her to Central Park at night and suggested he might have to kill her due to her past connection to Suge Knight. Prosecutors argue these aren't isolated events. They're part of a larger pattern of threats and control. Kid Cudi testified that after his fallout with Combs, his car exploded in his driveway. There's no physical proof tying Combs to it, but Cudi believes it was deliberate. Cassie Ventura's mother said she paid Combs $20,000 so he wouldn't release 2 sex tapes of her daughter. Meanwhile, Combs is also facing 2 counts of sex trafficking. Prosecutors say he used drugs, threats, and manipulation to force Cassie into sex acts, sometimes with male escorts, over long drug-filled days. Cassie told the jury, "I felt ashamed and dirty." When asked why she didn't leave, she said, "I didn't feel like I had a choice." If found guilty, Combs could face 15 years to life in prison. He has pleaded not guilty. His legal team insists the relationships were voluntary, and there was no criminal operation. This is a Law and Crime legal alert. If you were diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor after taking Depot Pack shots, you may be entitled to a lawsuit. Morgan & Morgan is reviewing such cases. It's free to check. Visit forthepeople.com, LCDO for more. Joining us now is defense attorney and former prosecutor Randy Zeelan. Welcome, Randy. Thanks for having me. Kennedy. Do prosecutors have a strong case? Randy. It depends. The sex trafficking charge is the most serious, minimum 15 years. But I think the government hasn't proven it. Cassie's texts and behavior make it look like she agreed to much of it. That undercuts the charge. The RICO case is stronger. They've shown signs of extortion, wire fraud, and drug crimes. But a key part of RICO is a financial motive. This group seems built around Combs' personal desires, not money-making. That may confuse the jury. Kennedy. Could the expert witness help the government's case? Randy. Maybe. But the expert didn't treat Cassie. Jurors may not believe someone, talking in theory. And in court, real-time texts matter more than memories from years later. Kennedy. Which witness testimony stood out? Randy. Oddly enough, the government's own witnesses did more harm than good. They made Combs look abusive, but didn't clearly show he committed the specific crimes he's charged with. Kennedy. What about Capricorn Clark? Randy. She worked for him for 20 years. Yet in 2024, she wanted her job back. That hurts her credibility. Haley. Kennedy. And Kid Cudi's car explosion? Randy. That could support the RICO charge, yes. But there's no clear link to sex trafficking. The case feels scattered and unclear. Kennedy. Could the jury convict just because they dislike Combs? Randy. That's jury nullification. It can happen. People sometimes ignore the law when emotions take over. That might lead to an appeal. Kennedy. So what should the defense say? Randy. Be honest. Tell the jury he might not be likable, but that's not a crime. He's charged with specific offenses. If the proof isn't there, they must vote not guilty. Kennedy. Thanks, Randy. Randy. My pleasure. Kennedy. Sean Combs denies all allegations. For more updates, keep watching Law and Crime. I'm Kennedy Walker. As the federal courtroom drama surrounding Sean Diddy Combs unfolds, this case continues to shake the foundations of fame, power, and justice in America. For 3 decades, Combs cultivated an image of success, an unstoppable mogul who broke barriers in music, fashion, and business. But as prosecutors dig deeper, they're arguing that beneath the polished persona was a man orchestrating acts of fear, intimidation, and abuse. What began as whispers has now grown into a legal reckoning. Former employees, ex-girlfriends, and industry insiders have stepped forward, one after another, describing an environment where silence was enforced through threats, where loyalty was demanded at the cost of safety, and where personal pleasure may have been disguised as professional order. Prosecutors claim Combs used his empire not just to build wealth, but to enable a lifestyle of unchecked control and exploitation. The RICO charges signal just how serious this case is. It's not about one incident, but a pattern, a network, of criminal activity allegedly protected by status, money, and fear. Yet the defense is pushing back hard, urging the jury to separate fact from feeling. They argue the prosecution's case is built more on shock than substance, more on assumptions than hard evidence. While witness stories are dramatic and disturbing, the defense insists that they don't prove the specific crimes outlined, especially sex trafficking and racketeering. In court, emotion alone doesn't equal guilt. And in a justice system built on the principle of innocent until proven guilty, the burden lies squarely on the government to connect the dots clearly and legally. What makes this trial so impactful is not just the celebrity involved, but the cultural questions it raises. What happens when fame is used not just to inspire, but to intimidate? Can the same empire that changed music history also have hidden dark secrets in its foundation? And most of all, how far should the justice system go to hold a public figure accountable when the line between power and abuse is blurred? As the trial heads into its next phase, the jury must make a difficult decision, one that weighs personal testimony, written records, expert opinions, and public perception. But beyond the courtroom, this case is already sparking conversations about accountability, consent, and how influence can be misused in plain sight. Whether the final verdict brings conviction or acquittal, one truth remains. This is no longer just about Sean Combs. It's about whether justice can rise above celebrity, and whether our legal system can navigate the tangled lines between power and responsibility. Stay with Law and Crime for full coverage of this historic trial. I'm Kennedy Walker. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with the latest from inside the courtroom.